My name is Zaha. I'm 62 years old. And at 11:47 p.m., while my daughter's heart stopped on an operating table, her husband was raising a champagne glass 40 miles offshore. He chose the yacht. I chose war. Welcome back to your ultimate destination for gripping revenge stories, family betrayals, shocking betrayals, and emotional justice. Subscribe now and join a community and tell us where you're watching from. Turn on the notification bell for our next story. Are you ready to witness the ultimate payback? Let's get started. My name is Zaha. I'm 62 years old, and I always thought I'd lived long enough to understand how life worked. I've seen recessions, wars on television, hurricanes, marriages falling apart, and friends disappearing into retirement homes like candles burning out one by one. But nothing in 6 decades of American life prepared me for the night I nearly lost my only child. It was a warm Thursday evening in Tampa, Florida, one of those humid Gulf nights where the air feels like warm bathwater and mosquitoes attack anything that moves. I had just turned off the grill behind my small yellow house, the same home where I raised my daughter Emily, when my phone buzzed in my pocket. I didn't recognize the number. For a moment, I almost ignored it. These days, unknown numbers usually mean insurance scammers or political surveys. But something, a pressure low in my stomach, nudged me to pick up. Hello. Yes, is this Mr. Zaha? A woman asked, her voice trembling. Yes, I answered slowly. Who is this? This is Mercy General Hospital. Sir, your daughter Emily has been brought in. She's in critical condition. You should come immediately. I swear the world stopped. The cicadas that had been whining in the palm trees went silent. My knees weakened. My hands started to shake around the phone. Critical condition. Those are not words any parent should ever hear. What happened? I demanded. Sir, she collapsed at work. The doctor will explain everything when you arrive. Please hurry. I didn't even remember grabbing my keys. I barely remember running to my car or fumbling with the seatbelt as adrenaline took over. My old silver Toyota roared down Bayshore Boulevard faster than it had in years. But even as the palm trees blurred past my window, I kept replaying the nurse's voice in my head like a broken record. Critical condition. Critical. My daughter. Emily wasn't some fragile flower. She was 31, stubborn as a mule, smart as hell, and healthier than me. I'd never seen her faint, never heard her complain about serious pain, never even seen her catch the flu for longer than 2 days. How could she be in surgery? What had happened? I forced myself not to think the worst. I pulled into Mercy General's ER parking lot so fast I almost clipped the curb. I sprinted through the sliding glass doors, chest heaving, heart pounding. Hospitals always smell the same. Cold, sterile, too clean. The smell of fear hiding under bleach. Emily Zaha, where is she? I gasped at the receptionist. She typed something quickly. Are you her father? Yes. Please, where is she? She's in emergency surgery on the 3rd floor. Take the elevator to. I didn't wait for the rest. I pushed through a group of people and took the stairs 2 at a time. I hadn't moved that fast in 20 years. When I finally reached the surgical floor, a doctor with tired eyes and a calm voice intercepted me. Mr. Zaha? I'm Dr. Walters. How is she? I blurted out. She's stable for now, but she needed immediate surgery. We're doing everything we can. Can I see her? Not until she's out of surgery. I'm sorry. The world dissolved into a long, echoing hallway of buzzing lights and distant footsteps. There's something uniquely cruel about hospital waiting rooms. They're too quiet and too bright at the same time. People sit there with their lives falling apart while the coffee machine hums like nothing is wrong. I sat down, hands trembling uncontrollably. And that's when a new thought hit me. Where was her husband? Where was Tariq? He should have been the first person called. And yet, not a single nurse mentioned him. He wasn't pacing the hallway. He wasn't crying. He wasn't anywhere. I pulled out my phone and dialed his number. Ring. Ring. Voicemail. I called again. And again. Nothing. Finally, after the 5th call, a text popped up instead. Busy RN. Can't talk. Busy. Busy. While his wife was fighting for her life. My blood began to boil, but before I could type something I'd regret, another notification appeared. A video message. It was from one of Emily's co-workers, someone I'd met at her wedding but barely knew. No caption. Just a link. I tapped it. The screen lit up with flashing lights. Loud music. Laughter. A yacht. A giant white, yacht glowing with neon blue lights against the night sky. The camera panned to a group of drunk, laughing men, shirts half open, some holding bottles, others yelling into the video. And in the center, smiling like he owned the ocean, was Tariq. Drunk, dancing, celebrating. Behind him, a giant banner glowed. "Happy birthday, King." Then I heard someone off camera say, "Tariq, your phone's blowing up. Who keeps calling?" He laughed. "Probably Emily whining again. Turn that thing off." I froze. He knew. He knew she wasn't feeling well earlier that day. Knew she had complained at work. And he still went to party. He turned off his phone, while my daughter collapsed and was rushed into emergency surgery. The video ended. My hands shook, not from fear this time, but from a rage I hadn't felt since I was a young man working construction jobs where guys settled disputes with fists instead of lawyers. In that moment, something broke inside me. Something simple. Something permanent. If my daughter survived this surgery, she was never going back to that man. I stood up, grabbed my phone, and walked toward the hallway. "You stay alive, baby girl," I whispered under my breath. "Daddy's here, and I'm not letting him hurt you again." I didn't know it then, but what I did next would change all of our lives forever. What happened when Zaha confronted Tariq, and what he discovered next will leave you speechless. The clock on the hospital wall ticked the slowest I had ever heard in my life. Each second felt like a nail being hammered into my patience. My daughter was behind those double doors, somewhere under bright surgical lamps, surrounded by strangers in scrubs, fighting for her life. And the man who vowed to protect her in sickness and in health was out on the Gulf of Mexico popping champagne bottles like he was the Sultan of Miami. I paced the waiting room floor until the tiles began to memorize the pattern of my footsteps. People stared, but I didn't care. My thoughts were loud, and no amount of hospital quiet could calm them. I pulled out my phone again. Tariq still hadn't called, hadn't texted, hadn't shown up. Just that smug little busy RN message. I clicked the video again, forcing myself to watch the whole thing. Not because I needed to, but because I needed to let the anger settle into something sharper. Something colder. Something useful. When the video ended, a nurse walked toward me holding a clipboard. "Mr. Zaha?" "Yes, how is she? Is she okay?" She shook her head softly. "She's still in surgery. It may be several hours. The doctor asked me to get some information from you." I nodded, though my mind was still stuck on the image of Tariq dancing on that yacht. The nurse sat down beside me and asked routine questions. Emily's medical history, allergies, family health issues. But at the end, she asked something that made my jaw tighten. "Is her spouse on the way? We've been calling him for updates." I closed my eyes for a moment before answering. "No. He's unavailable." "That's strange. Patients' husbands usually come immediately." "No kidding." I forced a polite smile. "Tariq isn't exactly reliable." The nurse's expression shifted. She didn't press further, but I could tell she sensed something was wrong. "Let us know if you need anything," she said before walking away. But what I needed, the only thing I needed, was answers. And I wasn't going to get them sitting down quietly like some obedient senior citizen. I started calling everyone. First, I dialed Tariq's brother, Ahmad, a quiet guy who always looked embarrassed by his older brother's behavior. "Hello," he answered groggily. "Where's Tariq?" I snapped. A pause. Probably still on that boat." "You knew? You knew he was celebrating while Emily is in emergency surgery?" Another pause. "Mr. Zaha, I didn't know she was in the hospital. I swear. I thought she was with you." She collapsed. "They don't know what's wrong yet." He exhaled sharply. "I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Where's the yacht?" He hesitated. "Too long. Ahmad, don't play games with me." Finally he whispered, "Shelby Marina. Slip 96. Good. At least someone in that family respected me enough to answer a question honestly. I hung up, leaned back in the stiff hospital chair, and stared at the surgical doors. If I left the hospital and Emily woke up, she'd be alone. If I stayed, Tariq would continue partying like a man without consequences. I had to choose. And then, as if on cue, the elevator dinged. A young woman in bright purple scrubs stepped out and looked around. When her eyes landed on me, she pressed her lips together like she recognized me from a photograph. "Mr. Zaha?" she asked. "Yes. I'm Dr. Mason. I'm assisting in your daughter's surgery. The main surgeon asked me to update you." I stood instantly. "Is she okay?" "She's stable right now. There were complications, but we're managing them. She'll be in surgery for at least another hour, possibly two." You can stay here. If anything changes, we'll come out immediately. Her tone was calm, confident, professional, enough to reassure me that for the next hour, Emily wasn't alone, and that meant I could move. Doctor, I said, I'll be back shortly. She nodded. We'll be here. I didn't drive fast, I drove precise. There's a difference. My mind processed every detail with the clarity of a man who'd been underestimated for too long. I used to think age dulled the senses. But that night, being a 62-year-old father felt like an advantage. I wasn't emotional. I wasn't impulsive. I had lived long enough to know that revenge is best served not cold, but smart. Traffic was light, the roads quiet except for the occasional police cruiser parked under a street lamp. Tampa's breeze cut across my cheeks through the cracked window. The moon hung heavy and white over the bay as I turned toward Shelby Marina. The water reflected the pier lights like long golden ribbons stretching into the dark. And there, docked at slip 96, was the yacht. Loud music thumped from its deck. A group of men hollered drunkenly. Sparkling fireworks shot from handheld cannons and fizzled over the water. I watched a champagne cork launch into the night sky like a tiny rocket. Then Tariq appeared, laughing, dancing, drunk, completely oblivious to the fact that his wife was in life-or-death surgery. Every part of me wanted to storm that yacht and drag him out by the collar of his overpriced linen shirt. But I didn't, because I saw something else, something more important. A group of men in tailored suits talking quietly at the front of the deck. Not drunk, not yelling, not celebrating. These men were sober, focused, watching Tariq with contempt. Businessmen, investors. Suddenly, puzzle pieces snapped together. Emily had once mentioned Tariq was trying to open some consulting venture, a vague half-baked dream he'd pitched to wealthy businessmen at his golf club. These guys weren't here for the party. They were here because Tariq told them he had secured funding. From where? Or rather, from whom? My stomach dropped. From Emily. From her savings. From her accounts. Or worse, from me. I stepped closer, staying behind a row of parked boats. Darkness covered me while I listened carefully. One of the men said, "Where's the documentation he promised?" He said he'd show us financials today. Another answered, "He's stalling. He probably doesn't have it." Then the first man said something that made every muscle in my body tense. He told us his wife's inheritance would cover our initial investment. Inheritance. Emily didn't have an inheritance. Not unless. He was planning for her to die. A cold wave shot through my body, so violently, I had to grip a railing to steady myself. This wasn't just neglect, or selfishness, or stupidity. This was premeditated exploitation. Maybe worse. Before I could take another step, Tariq stumbled toward the front of the yacht, sloshing champagne everywhere. "Gentlemen," he slurred. "Don't worry, okay? The money is coming. Emily's, situation is being handled." Situation. He didn't say surgery. He didn't say emergency. He didn't say my wife. He said situation. And he said it like she was an obstacle. A barrier. Something that needed to clear out so he could get his payday. My fists clenched. My heart pounded. And in that moment, I made a decision that changed everything. I pulled out my phone, hit record, and captured every word. Every lie. Every admission. Every drunken mistake. Tariq had finally given me what I needed. Evidence. Cold. Hard. Undeniable. And I wasn't finished. Not even close. Should ZAHA confront Tariq right here on the yacht? Or take the evidence back to the hospital first and wait for Emily to wake up? Comment below. I didn't sleep the night Emily went into emergency surgery. Not for a minute. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my daughter under those hospital lights, small, fragile, vulnerable, while at the very same moment, miles away, her husband Tariq was celebrating on a yacht like nothing in the world could touch him. That image didn't fade. It didn't weaken. It carved itself into me. By sunrise, I had aged a decade overnight, but my mind was sharper than it had been in days. I wasn't just a worried father now. I was a man with a mission. When the doctor finally approached me that morning, his expression wasn't tragic. And in a situation like this, not tragic was a kind of miracle. "Mr. ZAHA," he said gently, "Emily made it through the night. Her vitals are stable, but she needs close monitoring for at least 2 days." I exhaled so hard I nearly collapsed into the chair. Relief washed through me, warm, grateful, brief, because it didn't erase the anger simmering inside me. Once the doctor left, I went straight to her bedside. Emily looked peaceful, far too peaceful for what she'd endured. Machines beeped softly. Her chest rose and fell. "I'm right here, sweetheart," I whispered. "And I promise you, whatever happens next, I'm handling it." Then I reached into my pocket, unlocked my phone, and opened the videos the nurse had shown me the night before. Tariq, laughing, drinking, women draped all over him while he toasted himself on a yacht. A yacht, while his wife, my daughter, was fighting to stay alive. I saved every video, every photo, every file. Evidence, not for revenge, but for the truth. Around 10 a.m., Tariq finally called. Not because Emily was in the hospital. No, he never cared enough for that. He called because the video of his yacht party was blowing up locally on social media, and he needed to fix the narrative. He didn't even say hello properly. "Zaha, the video is out of context." "That's so?" I asked calmly. Too calmly. She wasn't sick when I left yesterday. I didn't know anything happened. I let him talk. People reveal more when they think they're defending themselves. "The doctors called you," I said quietly. He paused. "Long. We were on a boat," he muttered. "The signal, it was bad. And the women on your lap?" I asked. Silence. "Tariq," I continued, "all Emily ever asked of you was loyalty and care. 2 things you couldn't do for one night." "I don't need you judging me," he snapped. "You've hated me since day one." "I didn't hate you," I said. "I just never trusted you." And then I hung up, because I suddenly knew what I needed to do next. By noon, I left the hospital for the first time since the night before. I didn't go far. I drove to Tariq and Emily's house, the one I helped them buy when they were newly married, the one I painted myself, the one I hoped would be filled with love, not neglect. Tariq wasn't home yet, but 2 neighbors were standing outside, whispering and tapping their screens. So yes, the yacht video was circulating fast. Good. I sat in my car until Tariq finally pulled into the driveway. Dark glasses, hood up, looking like he was trying to hide from the world. He didn't know I was waiting. When he stepped out of the car, I was already in front of him. He flinched. "Jesus, Zaha, you scared me." "You're going to the hospital," I said firmly. He scoffed. "I don't need. You don't get to decide right now." I pulled up the video on my phone and hit play. His smile froze. The color drained out of his face. The music, the champagne, the dancing women. It played loud enough for the neighbors to hear. Tariq lunged to lower the volume, but I held the phone out of his reach. "You knew your wife was in surgery," I said. "And this is how you spent your night." He swallowed. "Zaha, listen." "No," I cut in. "You listen." I stepped closer. "That is your wife. The woman who trusted you. The woman who built a life with you. And you celebrated your birthday like she didn't exist." Tariq looked down at the ground, shoulders shaking, not from grief, but fear of being exposed. "Everyone has seen this video," I said. "If Emily wakes up and she asks for a divorce, you will agree. Immediately. No drama." He looked up sharply. "What if she doesn't want one?" "Then you fix your life," I said. "And you treat her better than you ever have." "And if she doesn't wake up?" he whispered. I stepped back, letting my words hit him with full weight. "Then you live with the fact that while she was fighting for her life, you were partying on a yacht with strangers." His face crumpled. Not from love. From guilt. And he deserved to feel every ounce of it. Tariq followed me to the hospital, head lowered like a schoolboy caught cheating. The nurses recognized him immediately. Several had seen the viral video by then. Whispers followed him down the hallway like shadows. Good. He needed to feel the consequences of his choices. When he entered Emily's room and saw her lying there, still, pale, silent, something in him broke. He sat down slowly, held her hand, cried quietly. I didn't look away. Guilt was finally doing its job. But I wasn't thinking about him anymore. I was thinking about Emily, my daughter, my only child, the person whose happiness mattered more to me than anything. And what happened next? What I discovered later that night. It changed everything. But later that night, I found something in Emily's room, something she hid from both of us, and it turned the entire situation upside down. The hospital at night is a strange place. Quiet, but not peaceful. Dim, but not dark. Hopeful, but always shadowed by fear. As the clock crept past 9 p.m., visitors thinned out. Nurses lowered their voices. The halls grew still. The kind of stillness that makes your thoughts louder than they should be. Tariq had fallen asleep in the chair beside Emily's bed. His head drooped forward, hands clasped like he was praying. I didn't wake him. For once in his life, The guilt was heavy enough to keep him still. I stood by the window, watching the parking lot lights shimmer on the asphalt, trying to steady myself. But something about the way Emily's blanket was draped unusually high on her left side, almost like she'd hidden something under her arm, kept nagging at me. At first, I ignored it. But after 20 minutes, the feeling wouldn't go away, and I've learned to trust those feelings. So I moved closer to her bed. I lifted the edge of the blanket gently, careful not to disturb the wires. That's when I felt it. A small rectangular shape. Thin. Solid. Not medical equipment. No, this was something personal. I slipped it out slowly. My breath caught. A journal. A simple black leather journal with her name embossed inside the cover in gold letters. Emily P. Winters. Maiden name, meaning she bought this before she married Tariq. I shouldn't have opened it. I knew that. But when your child is lying there, unconscious, fighting, any parent would want answers. Any father would take whatever piece of truth he could find. So I opened it. And the truth hit me like a punch to the chest. The journal wasn't full. Only the last quarter had writing. But every word felt heavy. The first entry dated 6 months earlier. Dad keeps saying he doesn't like Tariq, and I wish I could tell him he's right. But I can't. I'm scared to disappoint him. I'm scared to disappoint everyone. I swallowed hard. Then I kept reading. Tariq barely comes home anymore. He says he's busy with work, but I see the messages on his phone. I know there's someone else. I want to confront him, but every time I try, I freeze. My hands tightened around the pages. She knew. All this time she knew. The next lines were worse. I'm scared to leave. I'm scared he'll blow up. He gets angry so fast now. Last time I brought up counseling, he threw a glass across the room. Said I was trying to control him. I don't want Dad to know. He already worries so much. The words blurred as my eyes filled. Emily, my strong, kind, gentle girl, living in fear, hiding it to protect me. Every father's nightmare wrapped in ink. But it wasn't the last entry that broke me. It was the one dated the night before her surgery. The handwriting was shaky. Tears had stained the corner. I think something's wrong with my health. I've been dizzy for days. I told Tariq, but he said I was being dramatic. He left for the yacht party today. I wish Dad were here. I wish I had someone who cared. My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. She was sick. She knew she was sick. And Tariq still walked out the door. But the last paragraph. It nearly tore my heart out. I called the hospital myself. They told me to come in immediately. I didn't tell Tariq. Didn't want him to yell at me again. If something happens, I hope Dad knows I love him. And I hope he knows this wasn't his fault. My knees buckled. I had to grip the rail of her bed to stay standing. Emily went to the hospital alone. She drove herself while dizzy, scared, possibly minutes away from collapsing. And she wrote that she wished I had been there. The guilt crashed into me like a wave. I had been working overtime that week, taking extra shifts, trying to help her save for the future. Never once imagining she was suffering right in front of me. I wiped my face. I wanted to sit down. I wanted to breathe. But I kept reading. And the last line wasn't about Tariq. Or me. It was something else entirely. Something I wasn't prepared for. If I don't make it, Dad, please check the blue envelope at home. It's hidden behind the pantry door trim. The loose piece he fixed last summer. Inside is the truth about my marriage. I froze. A blue envelope. Hidden in the house. Behind a loose piece of trim I had fixed myself. What truth? What did she mean? I gently closed the journal and tucked it back under the blanket where I found it. Emily had hidden it for a reason. Maybe out of fear, maybe to protect herself. Or to protect me. Either way, I wasn't about to betray her trust by letting Tariq see it. But the envelope? That was different. That was something she wanted me to find. At 11 p.m., I left the hospital. I told the nurse to call me if Emily's condition changed. Tariq was still asleep, oblivious, unaware of the storm about to hit his life. I didn't care. I drove straight to the house. My heart pounded the whole way. The yard was quiet. Lights off. Party remnants still scattered near the garage where he'd dropped his things earlier. I walked inside using my spare key. The house smelled faintly of cologne and alcohol, like someone who tried too hard to cover the truth. I went to the pantry. There it was. The trim piece I had repaired last summer. I tugged on it. It loosened immediately. Behind it, just like she said, was a blue envelope. Thick. Sealed. With my name written on the front. Dad. My breath stuttered. I held it in both hands for a long moment, staring, debating, terrified of what truth waited inside. Because whatever Emily had hidden here, whatever she wrote, it wasn't small. It wasn't simple. This was something she believed would upend everything. And she was right. I opened it. Then I saw what was inside. And my entire world, the past, the present, the future, shifted all at once. Inside that envelope was a truth so explosive, it made the yacht party look like nothing. A truth that proved Tariq's betrayal was only the beginning. The envelope felt heavier than paper should ever feel. Inside were 3 documents, 1 folded letter, and something that looked like a printed email. I laid them all out on the kitchen counter, hands trembling. The house was silent, too silent. A silence that only comes when there's truth sitting in front of you, and you're afraid to touch it. I took a deep breath and started with the letter. Dad, if you're reading this, it means something went wrong. I had to close my eyes for a moment. Then I kept reading. I didn't want to tell you while things were still unfolding. You've always carried so much for me already. But I can't keep ignoring what I've learned about Tariq. My heartbeat picked up. I found out something about him. Something he's hiding from me. Something he's hiding from everyone. My grip tightened on the page. And he's not just having an affair, Dad. I froze. He's planning something illegal. Something that could ruin us financially. Something that could put me in danger. The words hit me fast, sharp, merciless. Illegal? What had that boy gotten himself into? I kept reading. I found paperwork, contracts with investors. He's using my name, my social security number. He forged my signature on multiple documents. My stomach dropped. Identity theft. Fraud. Forging contracts in my daughter's name. My hands shook so badly that I had to press them flat against the counter. Emily continued. He took out loans using my identity. Not small ones. Hundreds of thousands. He told those investors I inherited your house. That once it legally becomes mine, he'd use it as collateral. My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. He wasn't just trying to take my house. He was using it to commit crimes with her name attached. Dad, if I go down, he takes me down with him. He's built this whole scheme around the idea that he can manipulate me. And you. The idea made me sick. I didn't know how to tell you. I wanted to gather enough proof first. The last 3 pages in this envelope are copies of the contracts, the forged signature samples, and a printed email between him and one of the investors. I looked at the documents beside me. This wasn't small. This wasn't ordinary. This was federal. Then I read the last lines of her letter. Lines I'll never forget. Dad, if anything happens to me before I can expose him, promise me you won't let him get away with it. Promise me you won't let him take our future. I love you. Emily. My chest tightened. I had to lean on the counter. A man can only take so much. I touched her signature at the bottom. Her real signature, not the forged one. Then I turned to the next page. The first document was a loan application, taken out under Emily's name, for $240,000. The signature? Not hers. I knew her handwriting like I knew her heartbeat. This signature had sharp angles, rush strokes, nothing like Emily's neat curves. The next was a contract with a private investor named Redline Capital Group. Tariq had signed it himself, then signed again, pretending to be Emily. The contract included a clause. If borrower defaults, the lender may seize real estate assets in borrower's possession. Assets. That meant my house. Then the last document. A printed email. It was between Tariq and someone named Victor R. Subject line. House collateral confirmed. I scanned the message. She doesn't suspect anything. Once her dad gets older or moves out, we'll transfer the deed. Don't worry. She's easy to control. I'll make sure she cooperates. Tariq. My blood pressure spiked. The room blurred for a second. Emily wasn't dramatic. Emily wasn't overthinking. Emily wasn't emotional. Emily was in danger. This wasn't a marriage problem. This wasn't a cheating husband. This was a man planning to trap her in debt, using her identity, then steal the house I built over 30 years. All while she was sick, alone, begging him to care. I exhaled slowly, trying to steady myself. I thought I knew the worst of it. But then, I turned the last page over, and a smaller photo slipped out. A photo I wasn't prepared for. It was a printed phone screenshot. A picture of a woman, smiling, young, expensive clothes, standing beside Tariq. Not at a party, not in public, inside my daughter's house, in the living room. On the back, Emily had written, "Her name is Layla." He told me she was his cousin. She's not. Something inside me snapped quietly. Not loud rage. Not yelling. Not even the urge to punch something. Just a cold, calculated shift. A 62-year-old man has lived long enough to know. When someone hurts your child, you don't scream. You don't cry. You prepare. The house felt suffocating. Every object reminded me of the life Emily was trying to build, and the man trying to destroy it. Suddenly, a car pulled into the driveway. Headlights. Bright. Unmistakable. I moved to the window and peeked through the blinds. It wasn't a stranger. It wasn't a neighbor. It was Tariq. He stepped out of the car, checking his phone, laughing at a message. He wasn't supposed to be here. He was supposed to be asleep at the hospital, keeping vigil for his wife. But instead, he had driven home, and he had no idea I was inside. No idea I was standing in the kitchen with the evidence that could ruin him. No idea I knew everything. I turned off the kitchen lights. Quiet. Controlled. Invisible. The front doorknob rattled. He was coming in. And now, we were about to be face to face with the truth between us. Tariq just walked into the house, and ZAHA is inside with all the evidence. Should ZAHA confront him now, or hide and set a trap? The doorknob turned slowly, like someone who believed he owned the place. Tariq stepped inside, keys jingling. He closed the door with his foot, humming to himself. Not a care in the world. Not a hint of concern for the wife fighting for her life miles away. I stood in the dark kitchen, the documents spread across the counter like a battlefield. I didn't move. Didn't breathe too loudly. Didn't step forward yet. The old man in me, the one who always tried to be polite, patient, forgiving, was gone. A different part of me had risen. The part born the day Emily first held my finger as a newborn. The part that knew a father's job doesn't end until he takes his last breath. Tariq walked toward the living room, phone in his hand, texting rapidly. The glow from his screen lit up his face. Relaxed, smug, completely unbothered. Yeah, babe. He whispered into his phone, clearly not talking to Emily. Told you I'd stop by before going back to the hospital. I gotta look like the grieving husband, right? My jaw clenched. He laughed, quiet, confident. Relax, Layla. Once her dad croaks or hands over the deed, we're set. Just keep the pressure on the investors. They'll get their money. I'm working the old man. He's easy. Easy. That word did it. My fingers curled slowly around the edge of the counter, not to grab anything, not to hurt him, but to steady myself. My voice needed to be cold, steady, sharp, not emotional, not loud, just final. He turned toward the kitchen. I stepped into the faint light. Tariq. He jumped, nearly dropping his phone. ZAHA? Jesus, you scared me. He forced a laugh. Didn't see your car? What are you doing here? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. He glanced at the counter and froze. The documents. The forged signatures. The loan papers. The screenshot of him and Layla. His face went pale, then red, then pale again. Oh, he muttered, voice cracking. You saw that? I read everything, I said quietly. He swallowed hard, looking everywhere except at me. Listen, ZAHA, you got it wrong. This isn't what you think. I can explain. You're going to explain, I said softly, but only one time. And you will tell the truth. He opened his mouth, closed it, then opened it again. His tongue darted across his lips. A nervous tick. I wasn't trying to hurt Emily, he said quickly. You gotta understand, this is business. Investors. Opportunities. You wouldn't get it. I raised one eyebrow. He kept digging. I only used her name because women get better rates. And the house. Relax. I wasn't going to actually take it. It's collateral. Just paperwork stuff. Just paperwork, I echoed. In her name. Without her consent. He flinched. I took a step closer, not threatening, just present. Emily trusted you, I said. She believed you. And while she was in the hospital, fighting to stay alive, you were partying on a yacht. Drinking. Laughing. Ignoring her calls. And planning to put her in debt she didn't create. He ran his hands over his face. You're being dramatic, he muttered. The temperature in my chest dropped 10 degrees. Dramatic? I repeated. She's fine, he said quickly. And even if she wasn't, okay, even if things got bad, you act like I killed her or something. I stepped closer. Slow, deliberate. Tariq, you left her alone. You ignored the hospital's calls. You treated her like an inconvenience. He swallowed, stepping back. I was busy, he muttered. No remorse. No shame. Just excuses. I placed the printed email in his hand. He unfolded it. Read the first line. And his shoulders stiffened. I know everything, I said. And you will tell me exactly how long this scheme has been going on. For the first time all night, he couldn't mask it. Fear. His bravado cracked. You can't go to the police, he blurted out suddenly. You don't get it, Zaha. These investors. They're not soft. They'll expect their money. They don't care how it comes. If this gets out, they'll... He stopped himself. I felt a chill run down my spine. Tariq, I said slowly, are you telling me you owe money to people who don't use lawyers, but use threats instead? He didn't answer. He didn't have to. His silence was confirmation. The fraud wasn't just about greed. It was about desperation. He had gotten himself into deep trouble, and he was planning to drag my daughter into it. I didn't have a choice, he said finally. I thought if I could just get access to the house, I could cover the debt. No one needed to know. And Emily? I asked. What happens when the debt collectors realize the loans weren't paid? When they come for her? She would have been fine, he said weakly. I would have figured something out. I shook my head slowly. He wasn't just reckless. He was dangerous in the worst way. Recklessly stupid and absolutely convinced he was smarter than everyone else. I moved past him, grabbed the documents from the counter, and held them up. These go to the authorities tomorrow morning. His eyes widened in panic. No, Zaha, please. You can't do that. You'll ruin me. You ruined yourself, I replied. Please, he begged. If you turn this in, those investors will come after me. You'll be putting me at risk. And Emily won't forgive you. I stared at him. Calm, controlled, unmoving. Then I said, I'm not afraid of men who hide behind threats. And I'm certainly not afraid of protecting my daughter. He shook his head violently. You don't understand what these people are capable of. And you don't understand what I am capable of, I answered quietly. He froze. And for the first time, he realized. The old man wasn't the weak one in the room. Before he could speak again, headlights appeared outside. Fast. Bright. Too bright. Someone else was pulling into the driveway. Tariq's face went white. Oh no, he whispered. Not them. Not now. I didn't tell them to come tonight. I turned slowly toward the window. A black SUV rolled to a stop. Doors opening. Multiple footsteps. Heavy. Purposeful. Not police. Not friends. Not neighbors. People Tariq owed money to. And they were heading toward the front door. Danger is literally outside the door. Should Zaha hide the evidence and protect Tariq for the sake of keeping Emily safe, or open the door and face whoever is coming? I don't remember the drive home. I only remember gripping the steering wheel so tightly my hands hurt, and Emily sitting silently beside me, her tears dried, her face pale, her eyes staring at some far-off point no one else could see. The world outside passed in a blur of streetlights. Inside the car, everything felt frozen. A device. In her car. A deliberate act. I kept replaying it in my head. The detective's voice. Emily's gasp. That picture. My daughter wasn't simply unlucky. Someone had tried to make sure she never walked out of that operating room. When we got home, I helped Emily inside, made her tea, and insisted she lie down for a bit. She was exhausted, emotionally, physically, mentally. Anyone would be. Once she was settled, I went into the living room and sat on the couch, elbows on my knees, staring at the dark TV screen. My hands trembled. Not from fear. From restraint. I had never considered myself a violent man. I grew up working with my hands, solving problems with sweat, effort, and sheer stubbornness. I'd faced hard bosses, dangerous job sites, and the kind of disrespect that would crush weaker men. But nothing, had made my blood boil like what I learned today. I had nearly lost my daughter. Not by accident. Not by fate. By someone's choice. My phone buzzed on the coffee table. A text message. From an unknown number. I opened it. We need to talk. Jay. My eyebrows pulled together. Then it clicked. Jason. Tariq's younger brother. I hadn't heard from him since the night of the yacht incident. He had disappeared into the shadows just like his brother. Quiet, loyal, protective. Or so I assumed. I stared at the message for a long moment before replying. About what? His response came instantly, almost too fast. About what he did to Emily. I have information. Meet me tonight. My jaw tightened. This could be a trap. Or it could be exactly what the detective needed. I typed back. Where? And that's when the next message came through, sending a chill across my skin. Somewhere private. Not safe to talk over text. I exhaled slowly. I didn't like this. But I liked secrets even less. Before I could reply, another message appeared, this time longer. You think Tariq did this alone? He didn't. There's someone else. Someone worse. And Emily wasn't supposed to survive. My heart froze. Someone worse? My thumb hovered over the screen. Who? I typed. This time, the answer didn't come as text. It came as a photo. A grainy shot taken from a distance. A woman in dark clothing standing outside a modern apartment building, her face partly shadowed. But I recognized her. I'd seen her at the hospital. In the background. Not with us, but watching. Vanessa, Tariq's business partner. She had always been polite, always smiling, but something about her eyes had unsettled me back then, though I brushed it off as stress. Jason's final message arrived. Meet me in 1 hour. Midtown. The old parking garage. Level 4. My pulse quickened. I knew that place. Abandoned, quiet. No cameras, no attendants. Too quiet. It smelled like a setup. But if Jason had the truth, if he had proof someone else tried to hurt Emily, then I couldn't ignore it. I walked to Emily's room and cracked the door open quietly. She was asleep, curled on her side, tired beyond measure. Seeing her like that sharpened my resolve. Careful not to wake her, I stepped back and grabbed my jacket. Before I left the house, I paused. My daughter had already survived something she should never have had to survive. I wasn't going to let danger come near her again. Not from Tariq. Not from Vanessa. Not from anyone. I locked the door behind me and headed into the night. The parking garage loomed ahead like a concrete skeleton, dimly lit, cold, abandoned. My footsteps echoed as I climbed to lead the way. Halfway up, I heard another pair of footsteps. Slow, careful, deliberate. I turned the corner and froze. Jason was there, but he wasn't alone. Standing behind him, hands in her coat pockets, face half hidden by shadow, was Vanessa. My pulse kicked hard. Jason lifted his hands in a shaky, don't panic gesture. Mr. Zaha, please. Just hear us out. Vanessa stepped forward slowly, her expression blank. Not scared, not angry, just unreadable. You shouldn't have come here alone, she said quietly. Her tone sent cold ripples through my spine. This was no friendly meeting. I narrowed my gaze. What's going on? Jason swallowed hard. Mr. Zaha, she's not here to hurt you. I raised an eyebrow. That's supposed to make me feel better? His voice cracked. She's here to confess. For a heartbeat, the whole garage felt silent. Then Vanessa exhaled. Tariq didn't sabotage Emily's car, she said. My jaw clenched. Then who? She held up her hand. I did. My stomach dropped. Jason covered his face, overwhelmed. Vanessa continued, voice eerily calm. I never meant for her to die. I meant to scare her. To push her away. Tariq was making stupid decisions. Reckless. He was going to ruin everything we built. Emily was the distraction. My vision tunneled. A distraction? My daughter? A person with a life? A heart? Dreams? I stepped closer, my voice low and shaking. You tried to scare my daughter by sabotaging her steering? Are you out of your mind? Vanessa didn't flinch. Tariq wasn't supposed to leave her that night. He wasn't supposed to be at the yacht party. He was supposed to drive her home. Jason's voice cracked again. He didn't know. None of us knew she'd take the car alone. The implication hit me like a punch. Vanessa wasn't trying to hurt Emily. She was trying to hurt Tariq. Aimed at him. Hit my daughter instead. I stared at her, horrified. You almost killed her. Vanessa nodded once. I know. Silence hung heavy between us. Then she said something that sent the entire night spiraling. But I'm not the only one you need to worry about. My eyes narrowed. What does that mean? She swallowed, for the first time looking genuinely afraid. There's someone else watching you. Someone who doesn't want this coming out in court. My pulse hammered. Someone else? Who? I demanded. Vanessa opened her mouth to answer. But before she could speak, a car engine roared behind me. Headlights exploded across the concrete floor. Jason shouted, Mr. Zaha, move. I spun around and saw a black SUV accelerating straight toward us. A confession. A shocking twist. And now, someone is trying to silence the truth. The headlights blazed across the garage as the black SUV skidded to a stop, tires squealing against the concrete. My heart pounded. I could feel it in my throat, my temples, my chest. Jason grabbed my arm. Move. Now. I didn't hesitate. I lunged to the side as Vanessa instinctively dove behind a pillar. The SUV stopped just inches from where we had been standing seconds ago. The doors opened simultaneously, slow and deliberate. Two figures stepped out. Tall, broad, men in suits. Not security guards. I knew that the moment I saw the glint of their earpieces and the way they scanned the space. Professional. Dangerous. Vanessa hissed under her breath. They're not here for me. They're here for you, ZAHA. I felt a cold spike of fear, but the instinctive patience I had cultivated over decades kicked in. Who sent you? I asked, calm but loud enough to echo in the empty garage. No answer. Jason tugged at me again. We don't have time. They're contractors, ex-military. They'll take you out if we stay. I didn't argue. I didn't panic. At 62 years old, I wasn't about to let brutes make my final decisions for me. I stepped closer to the edge of the pillar, peeking around it. The men moved in unison, closing the distance with precision. But something about their movement wasn't just professional. It was nervous, hesitant, like they hadn't expected resistance. I made my move. A small step forward, body low, my voice loud. If you want me alive, tell me who hired you. The taller of the two paused. A faint smirk crossed his face. Then the smaller man spoke, voice clipped and cold. Relax, old man. We're not here to kill you, yet. We're here to make sure you don't reach Emily. That's all. Who sent you? I asked again, sharper this time. The taller man tilted his head. You'll find out soon enough. But you're going to regret digging into this family business. I studied them, every line of their body, every twitch. Not threats, warnings. Jason hissed. We need to move, ZAHA. I took one last glance at Vanessa. Her expression was unreadable, but there was a flicker. Fear, maybe respect. She knew I wasn't about to run blindly. I nodded at Jason. We made a break for the stairwell, moving as quietly as possible, hugging the shadows. The men didn't chase immediately. They waited, watching, giving the illusion that they could catch us at any second. Once we reached the street, I took a deep breath. The night air felt different, dangerous, alive, electric. The city lights stretched endlessly. This was American soil, but tonight, it didn't feel safe. Do you have anywhere to hide? Jason asked. I shook my head. Not yet, but I'm not hiding from them. I'm waiting for them to make the first mistake. Vanessa's words from earlier rang in my mind. There's someone else watching you. Someone who doesn't want this coming out in court. And now I knew why. It wasn't just about Emily. It wasn't just about Tariq. It was about a network, a shadow, someone pulling strings. And they thought I was just an old man, vulnerable, retired, irrelevant. They were wrong. We ducked into a nearby alley, and I finally allowed myself to speak aloud, voice low and deliberate. They're going to try again. Soon. They'll test me, find my weaknesses. And when they do, I'll be ready. Jason looked at me, awestruck and terrified. What do we do? Patience, I said. We wait. We gather evidence. We plan. And then, I let the sentence hang. Jason understood without me finishing. We weren't just reacting. We were preparing. And that's when my phone buzzed again. A message from Vanessa. Meet me tomorrow morning. Pier 39. Alone. I'll tell you everything. I frowned. Alone? That sounded like a trap, and yet, it was the only lead we had. I pocketed the phone, feeling the weight of the night pressing down. My daughter's life had already been endangered once. Now, a network of dangerous people wanted to make sure the story didn't get out. And the longer I waited, the bolder they would become. But I wasn't afraid. I'd survived wars no one knew about, corporate wars, personal betrayals, family lies. And this was just another chessboard. I glanced back at Jason. Tonight was only a test. Tomorrow, we take the first step toward their downfall. The city hummed around us. Cars honked. People laughed, oblivious to the storm brewing in the shadows. And I smiled. Because the storm wasn't coming for me anymore. I was going to make it their storm. An ambush. A shocking confession. And now, a mysterious meeting that could expose everything. The fog hung low over Pier 39, curling around the docks like a thick, gray blanket. My breath formed clouds in the cold night air as I walked cautiously along the wooden planks. Every step echoed against the water below, a reminder that I was alone, at least for now. The neon lights from the surrounding shops cast a sickly glow on the waves, and the salty tang of the ocean filled my lungs. At 62 years old, I had lived through more than most men could imagine, but nothing had ever felt quite like this. The combination of fear, anticipation, and righteous anger coiling tightly in my chest. My phone buzzed. Vanessa, I'm here. Dock 5. Hurry. I didn't rush. I walked slowly, deliberately, observing every shadow, every movement. This was a test, and I wasn't about to fail it. The memory of Jason laughing at me during Emily's wedding, calling me an unemployed loser, fueled a cold, precise focus. As I approached Dock 5, a figure emerged from the mist. Vanessa. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with urgency. She held a folder tightly against her chest. "Zaha," she whispered, glancing over her shoulder. "You don't understand. It's worse than you think." I studied her, silent, letting her words sink in. "Your daughter, Emily, her life isn't just at risk because of Jason," Vanessa continued. "There's a network, powerful people who've been manipulating him. They've been planning this for years. They want your property, your investments, and your silence." I felt the cold spike of dread, but it only sharpened my resolve. "Go on." Vanessa opened the folder, revealing a series of documents, emails, and photographs. My eyes scanned quickly. My daughter's accounts, secret contracts, bank statements, signatures forged by Tariq, Jason's accomplice. "They've been setting this up from the beginning," Vanessa said. "Emily has been unknowingly involved. Jason is just the pawn." A deep, slow anger rose inside me. My mind raced through 20 years of protection, building a life and fortune to shield my family, only to have it threatened by greed and betrayal. "You should have called the police," I said. "Why come to me first?" Vanessa shook her head. "Because the network has influence everywhere. The police, banks, even some of your trusted friends, they could be compromised. You're the only one who can act quietly, strategically." I nodded slowly. This wasn't about brute force. It never was. It was about patience, observation, and precision. "Here's the plan," I said, voice calm measured. "We expose Jason and his network. We do it in a way that protects Emily and ensures the law is on our side. We gather evidence, trap them in their own schemes, and let them hang themselves." Vanessa looked at me, a mix of relief and fear in her eyes. "You really think it's possible?" "I've survived worse," I said. "They think I'm weak. They think I'm retired. But they forgot one thing. Quiet men are patient men. And patient men never strike blindly. They strike when the moment is perfect." Over the next few hours, we set the groundwork. Phone calls recorded. Bank transfers traced. Contracts marked with forensic evidence. Every interaction, every document, carefully analyzed. We moved like shadows, unseen, unnoticed, preparing the final trap. The next evening, I arranged a private meeting at my office with Jason. He arrived, smug, confident, thinking he had already won. I greeted him politely, inviting him to sit. He laughed nervously. "Zaha, I didn't think you'd actually come in person. I mean, you're retired. Relax, old man. Everything's fine." I leaned forward, calm, voice measured. "Is it? Because I've seen everything. The contracts, the bank transfers, the emails, the lies. Every single one." His smirk faltered. Panic flickered across his eyes. "I've recorded your conversations, Jason," I continued. "Every illegal step you've taken, every attempt to manipulate Emily, every falsified signature. It's all here." I tapped the folder. I don't know what you're talking about," he stammered, but I could see the fear now. Pure, raw, undiluted. "You're not walking away," I said. "Not from this. Not ever. The house, Emily's trust, and your freedom are all at stake. And every move you make from here will be watched, documented, and reported." By the end of the hour, Jason was pale, shaking, and broken. He had signed legal documents restoring everything to Emily, confirming his deception, and agreeing to step away from the family entirely. The network that had empowered him? Exposed. Their schemes unraveling like a fraying rope. I stood outside my office, watching Jason leave. Relief washed over me, but I didn't smile. This wasn't about victory, it was about justice. And justice had a cost, but tonight, the price was paid. I called Emily, voice steady but soft. "Everything is taken care of. You're safe. Your home, your life, your future. No one can touch it." Tears came to her eyes. "Dad, I don't know what to say. I'm so sorry for doubting." I interrupted her gently. "You never doubted me. They were clever, but we were smarter. And now it's over." She laughed through her tears. "I love you, Dad. Always." I felt a warmth I hadn't felt in years. Despite the chaos, the betrayal, the near loss, I had protected her. I had outmaneuvered greed, deceit, and arrogance. As I walked home that night, city lights reflecting in the quiet streets, I realized something important. Age doesn't define a man. Experience, patience, and strategic action do. And no one, no matter how arrogant or powerful, can underestimate a man who has mastered them. At 62, I wasn't just a retired man. I was ZAHA, a father, a strategist, a survivor, and justice had finally been served. Jason's schemes are exposed. Emily is safe. The network's plot is dismantled. Justice prevails. Did you see that coming? Would you have handled Jason the same way as ZAHA? Don't miss more true-life revenge stories on ZAHA Revenge. Thank you so much for watching my story all the way to the end. Your support means everything. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts.